They came bounding through the door, and so I have a warrant to search the property.
Waylon caught Big Bird on fire.
I had made a voodoo doll of Waylon.
George was in fine form. Waylon was in finer form.
Waylon looked at Hank and said, "Take those GD boots back to the Hall of Fame."
On the mic, he said, "What you got in that little bag there?"
And this boy leans in and starts to kiss her, and Waylon goes, "Whoa, wait there a minute, just a minute, Hoss."
All right, we're in here for a real special episode of Drifting Cowboy because we are in here with the Waylors, Waylon Jennings Band, and we're going to tell some really good Waylon Jennings stories in his honor. And I guess we'll start right here and go around the circle, and everybody can introduce themselves and say what years you were with Waylon and what position you played.
I'm Jerry Bridges, Jigger because of Waylon. He had an uncle, I think, is that right? An uncle that his name was Jigger. And he said that I reminded him of his uncle because there was no elevator ride. I was always level. I showed him. Anyway, I was with Waylon for 23 years. When I moved to Nashville, I moved here to get off the road. And the Carty brothers had a studio in town that Waylon was leasing, and I can't remember what happened to Sherman.
Oh, yeah.
He'd broken his wrist.
Broke a wrist.
Fell off a building.
Anyway,
What was he doing on the building? Fall up of?
Yeah. Anyway, Waylon. They told Waylon about me being there, and he liked the Muscle Shoals sound, and he invited me in, and he asked me to go on the road for 14 days, and that lasted 23 years.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty much it.
I'm Fred Newell. I was with Waylon about 3 years, I believe, in the early 90s. The gig came open, and I spent a lot of years in the studios making records with a lot of people, and things got a little slower. And the job came open, thanks to Jigger, and wanted to play the gig playing steel guitar. I said, of course, because I always knew who Waylon was, knew him for quite a while before that even. So it all worked out, and I found out that being on the road after all that time was a little bit different than it was in the early days, but it was the most enjoyable, and it was a great time. We had a good band, and with these folks here, you can't have a bad band. It's all good.
I'm Tommy Townsend. I started with Waylon in the 1950s. No, no, I was never in the band, but I came along. Jigger and Waylon produced a record on me several years ago that came out, and so when the band formed, they got me to be the lead singer, and they could ask anybody to do it, but I'm honored that they got me to do it. So
That record sounds better with age.
yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Like I told Tommy, I said, "This sounds familiar." He goes, "Well, you're playing on it."
I gave him a copy.
Jeff Hale, drums, from like the end of 84, first of 85 to 99. So, long time, almost 15 years.
I'm Gordon Payne. I played with Waylon from May of 1975 to May of 1981. How I got the job is Waylon had let go of his harmonica player, and one guitar player that sang harmony had left. So I called my buddies the Crickets and my other friend J.J. Cale. I said, call Waylon, tell him you know a guy that does all that. So that's how I got the job. Started in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget.
I'm Carter Robertson, and I started working actually with Jesse Coulter in 1975 in the studio, and then started working with Waylon first in the studio in 1976, and then went out on the road with him. He asked Barney and I to go out, and we ended up saying yes, thinking it was going to be some short tour, right? And he said it was a little tour. We'll come to find out it was the infamous Outlaw tour. And so that turned into, after Gordon started, we used to know Gordon a little bit because we were playing the Palomino, and on Sunday nights, and he would come out and listen to us. And so we started in with this, and it was the producer, Ken Mansfield, who got us the gig because we were doing some recording with him. And then we ended up working through 81. You left in May. I think we left in June or something because I was 6 months pregnant. And then we came back out. Waylon always said it was the longest maternity leave in history because it was like 10 years. And then we came back out and joined back up with Waymore Blues Band and did some recording and doing stuff like that. And then I worked with Jesse after, Waylon passed.
I'm Barney Robertson, and my story pretty much parallels her because we came and left at the same time. First, we did a Jesse Coulter album, and then by being added in to Waylon's band, we functioned as her backup band, and then that morphed into us doing the whole thing, being with Waylon. So it was same period of years. We came back to Nashville in '94, and just prior to the Waymore Blues Band era, I hooked back up with Waylon and produced a kids album that he had done. Well, these guys played on it, and that was fun. That's kind of when I first hooked back up with Waylon, and then we, a few years later, did the Waymore Blues Band tours.
Yeah.
The kids' record was a blast.
Oh, was it?
It was great.
Yeah, he wrote some great songs.
Yeah.
I don't think it made, didn't have a great reach. I don't think a lot of people ever heard that album, but he had written some songs, and I'd been producing kids music in L.A. All that interim, and Richie said, "You ought to call Waylon. He's doing great," because I'd called Richie when I came into Nashville, and so I did. And Waylon said, "What have you been doing?" I said, "Well, I've been doing kids music all these years," and he said, "Well, I just finished 10 songs about kids, and I don't know what to do with it." So we got together and talked about it, and he wound up, we did the whole album, cut it here and finished it in L.A., had a bunch of kids singing on it, including our 3 daughters. So it was a fun project.
That's awesome. Well, since you guys have the mic over there, I'll start with y'all. What was it like? And being that you guys really worked with Waylon in kind of separate eras, what was it like working for Waylon in those eras?
Well, it was a wild ride. Yeah. Most of this is in his book, so there's nothing we can tell that would be too outrageous. It was just wild. It was, Carter likes to mention them. We started out with him. We were playing, small, mid-sized venues, clubs, that kind of thing, and just overnight, almost, it just exploded into playing arenas and a bunch of buses and. I got, as a keyboard player, I got to have my own Steinway grand piano we hauled all over the country and tuned it every night, and it was really a big thing. And Waylon was just larger than life, running 90 miles an hour all the time. So he was hard to keep up with. But we tried.
Yeah, we did our best. I parroted exactly what he just said, but I think there's a dynamic that we sometimes forget about. It was insane. We haven't forgotten about that part. Sometimes we homogenize it, but it was insane. But there was something about Waylon that, even though he would seem to be out of his mind sometimes, in his heart, he loved family, and he wanted his players and his band to be a part of this big family. And you know what? Even though we were crazy and he was crazy, I think in God's providence, he allowed us to all survive and do more than just survive, but become what a true family is. And that's being with each other when it's crazy and when it's smooth. And so being here today with all these guys, I could share 1,000 stories about them. I won't. No, I'm kidding. But I think the powerful thing is that the legacy of Waylon's music is stronger than ever, and I just hope people will tune into that. And the legacy of the family he has left is even stronger. So I love that part.
Absolutely. Gordon, what was it like for you being out with Waylon?
Well, I don't remember any. I was drunk the whole time. How can I remember any of that? One time, a friend of ours was saying, you were around in the 70s. I said, yeah, but I don't remember anything. He said, then I know you were around in the 70s. No, it was a giant party. I mean, from the time you get there, and I was ready for it. So I was young, and we had a blast on the bus. We had a blast on stage, and we had a blast after the show. And, many times after the show, the best show would be up in the suite afterwards, because we always had a suite after the show, and we'd all get up and swap guitars. And that was some of the most fun time. I met my wife in Austin during my first full year with Waylon, and I brought her, after we got married, brought her out on the road with us, and it was like a 40-day tour. And after about 8 days, she said, honey, I can't take anymore. You have to send me home. She lasted 9 days. But Waylon always he told me, anytime Pat wants to come, you make sure you tell the road manager and they'll get her a flight and we'll get you a room. He said, you let me know. He wanted all the kids, all the family, everybody around. He loved it. And he was crazy, but he had a big heart. He really did. And the music, one of the things, I retired out of music after I spent 10 years with the Crickets, and then I had to get off the road. And to do that, I had to just plumb quit. And so it was about 15 years after that, Waylon called me. He said, I'm doing this thing. I want you to come and play on it. And I hadn't played with them in all that time. We were at SIR Studios. We had a practice night. And from the first time, and I don't think you had played with him in a while either, had you, Barney?
Just in the studio.
So we hadn't really been together as a band in a long time. And from the first note that we started playing, it was locked in. Gives me cold chills to this day. It was amazing. There was a chemistry there that was very rare. And it was a lot of fun.
Waylon, when he called us for that last thing, he said, hey, if we could go out one more time and get paid and have fun, would you be interested? And Barney and I both just said, tell us when.
Yeah.
We're there, And that was awesome. I wanted to say one thing. Back in the old days, it really was like life under the big top. It was like a carnival, and the carnies in a sense, and their family too, So anyway, it was pretty cool. But yeah.
Waylon was going strong when I first met him, and we actually opened the show for him for a couple of years. It was with an artist, Tony Joe White.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Tony Joe White, the Crickets, and then Waylon. So I got introduced to it when it was full bore. And everything they've said is true,
Full roar.
Full roar, yeah, that's an old saying. But anyway, that went on, so that was very cool, And then I had just Jigger and I had done a fair amount of session work together during different times, and I got a call from the office that said, Waylon wants you to play drums. You start in 4 days. And then the riots began.
Like I said, I never was in the band, but I can remember when I was about 12 years old seeing these guys down in Georgia. And my mom and dad were Waylon fans and stuff, so I was into football and all that at that time. But I remember seeing them play, and I'm thinking, that's what I want to do. When I saw the first show, So, but when I had met Waylon and everybody's kind of settled down a little bit, and so I went out with them.
Discovered food.
Yeah, discovered food. Yeah. So I'd go. Waylon would let me sing "Good Hearted Woman" or "Mama's Gonna Let Your Babies Go to Be Cowboys" with him, and every now and then. And I remember Jigger calling me about doing that, and I about lost my lunch when Jigger said, "Oh, Waylon wants you to sing with him," or whatever. So anyway, did that, and then in the studio with him and Jigger, and he was just so gracious, and helped. I've learned a lot from him and Jigger, and I've learned a lot from all these guys being around them.
Yeah, it's got to be a dream come true growing up
yeah.
on Waylon to get to play with these guys and girls.
Yeah. I never thought when I was 12 years old I'd be sitting here now.
Didn't he teach you the claw hammer G?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of years doing TV in Nashville now, which is on the Nashville network for 10.5 years. But occasionally Waylon would come on, and Jigger was playing with him, and I think you were playing with at that time too. So I met everybody. I knew everybody in the band at that time, and I'd see Waylon occasionally down a music row between sessions, whatnot. So I found out I was working some sessions with you, I think, and basically the band, and you mentioned something about the steel position might be coming open or whatnot, and about a couple of weeks later, or maybe so amount of time, it did come open, and I said sure, because I knew Waylon way back 30 years. Actually, I played on some of his early records before he really got really big. So the job playing steel came open. It's like, okay. So I went down to the office, and man, this is similar to your story about having rehearsal or lack of. I went down there and I got all the cassettes and the records. I thought, man, I'll have Ralph Mooney down in Nothing Flat. I'll be able to kick off the intros and whatnot. That's the way it'll go. So I studied. Moon was my hero anyway. And I figured this will be good. But I called, I don't know who the road manager was at that time, but they said, we're first gig's in Baltimore. So, okay, so I'm on the bus. So let them rehearse. They're back again. No rehearsals. Like, now I'll just have my part down real good. I'll be ready to kick it off when he says go, We get to Baltimore, I still haven't seen Waylon. I'm sitting there on stage, and ladies and gentlemen, Waylon Jennings. Waylon walked by and said, "Hey, Hoss, have a good time, play what you want." And off we went. That was it. There was no rehearsal. I learned then what chord he hits. I knew what he's going to say. Like all of us, you know what he's going to say. And we started playing. It was a very enjoyable gig, and I worked that gig for a while, and then I had a TV thing come open, and I had to drop out and do that. Another thing with the Nashville network. But I got back in the band for another go around, which I totally enjoyed, and then things quieted down, I guess, for me. And but the gigs came open, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever done. It was the most fun playing with the band and Waylon and everything, because I always loved his singing and guitar playing. I used to kid him. I said, "You're one of my favorite guitar players," and he was, "Oh no, man." He was very humble about his playing, but he had a style. It's like this: when Waylon hit a note, you knew it was him. That's a compliment to a person who has a style, So that's kind of my story where I ended up. I didn't see much of him later on, and like everybody in the music industry, we all loved him. And the memory of him is really good, and I'm glad he's getting to get some more exposure with the recording that's been coming out.
Absolutely.
I've got one. Now, I've had time to think a lot while all these guys are talking, but I don't know if I'll remember what I thought about. The cool thing is when I started these guys is how they made me feel at home. All smiles, all up, energy pumped. It was fun. But I also found out that they like to laugh a lot. So when I got the news that I was going on the road with Waylon, I came down and the buses were parked in the parking lot. I didn't know what bus to get on. And Rugus was there. Rugus said, "Come on, put your stuff in here, put your clothes wherever you want them, just relax." I got on the bus and I noticed, man, this thing is really decked out. And I looked in the back and there's a king-size bed and maybe 2 bunks. And I thought, I've never experienced this kind of luxury in my life. So I get in there and throw my stuff all over the place. I'm getting comfortable. I look up and Waylon walks on the bus. And he's smiling, and I looked at him and smiled back. No, we're not saying anything. We're just looking at each other. And then I looked around, and I thought, they've done it to me. I'm on the wrong bus. That's awesome. So without saying anything, I just pointed to my clothes, and he went, yeah. So anyway, I get off that bus, finally get on the right bus. And Gordon and I got together to rehearse on the way to the gig. I think the first 5 gigs were sellouts, and seems like Miami was one of the first ones. I don't know, but he and I stayed up all night, and he helped me. That's when I found out about the rehearsal thing too. I said, "Well, when we get there, we're going to rehearse." And he said, "We don't." And I said, "We get a set list." "No, we don't." And that's kind of how it went. And I was used to playing. I think the probably biggest gig I had played was like 1,000-seater or something before I got there, and then we're walking into 20,000 seaters, and but still felt comfortable. It was great. I can't say enough good things about Waylon. Waylon is Waylon. You got to remember that. It's quite a ride. Just get on it and hang on.
Hang on.
Yeah, like Jigger, Waylon's demeanor never changed, whether we were doing a big political gig or Sesame Street. And I think that summed it up. I mean, because Big Bird rocked.
Waylon caught Big Bird on fire. we were in Canada, and Waylon was in that pickup thing with Big Bird. And that's when Waylon was still smoking, and he's smoking and talking to me and all that. And he does one of these things, flipping the ashes. And I'm standing outside the truck looking in, and I said, "I'm not sure, but Big Bird's smoking right now."
Don't let the kids see this one.
Somebody needs to do something about this guy. So anyway, we put him out, and things are good.
Well, I told Shooter that we were doing this, and he was just ecstatic about it. He was really excited, and he said to be sure to ask y'all, and I don't know which one of y'all would have been there, but ask y'all about recording for the Dukes of Hazzard and the TV executive being there, and that's all he gave me.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was talking about exactly.
Yeah, we went out to, when the whole thing came about and they decided that the Moonrunners movie would make a good TV series, and they were going to call it the Dukes of Hazzard. They asked Waylon to write the theme song, and they wanted the Waylors to provide the background music for the first season, if it was picked up. So we all went out to L.A. and did the music for the what do you call it? The first
Pilot.
The pilot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. The pilot. It's been a while, and it was a lot of fun. And they wanted to use. I think they wanted to use some players out there, but Waylon, in his typical thing, said, "No, I'm not coming if I can't bring the band." So we all traipsed out there and did that. And the pilot was picked up. We all went back home, of course, and then they decided that they wanted the Waylors to do the first 6 episodes of the series. So we said, well, we can't do that in LA. We need to do it here. So we recorded, I think, at American Sound right next door to Waylon's office. And they sent a music supervisor out. Well, I don't know what he was expecting, probably that we would have some charts and we'd knock everything out in a couple hours. But we just went in and partied for like 3 days. And they would play a little bit of it. Well, let's try this. No, let's try this. We were just adding stuff, making up stuff. And it came out really good.
Yeah.
But he wasn't happy. He sat on the couch drinking coffee, trying to keep up unsuccessfully. And then he went home, took all the big tapes with him, and we never saw him again. So I guess we got fired.
Yeah.
But of course, Waylon got a hit song out of it and a hit series. So it's a lot of fun.
The fun thing about that, you was talking about planning what we're going to play. We'd start out watching the chase scenes, and then we'd go back to watching Daisy. Then we'd go back to watching the chase scenes. That was the inspiration.
Well, it's
Definitely
funny
not
you
Boss
mentioned the Moonrunners. I was in on that one.
You were?
Yeah, in the very early days, Richie, they had needed somebody who could play banjo and acoustic guitar. And for some of the scenes, and we saw the Moonrunners, what they were trying to do with this thing. So we did some soundtracks for it. So that's how come I got in on it. And of course, I met some of the original Waylors band. I don't remember at that time, Richie, of course, being in there. I don't remember who was playing bass. Moon was playing steel. Anyway, the Moonrunners thing eventually, talking about turned it was kind of the blueprint for the Dukes of Hazzard. But they didn't have anybody to play banjo. I said, I'll do it. So I got in on the ground floor of that. And then when Dukes of Hazzard came out, I thought, Boy, that seems kind of familiar. And I did one time get to see the Moonrunners movie on late night TV. But I was kind of like, well, yeah, I remember doing that. But that was a long time ago. But it was a lot of fun back then,
So
too.
who's playing banjo in the chase scenes? Is that you, Fred? In the
Not in the one
After
that
those
they did.
initial 6 episodes, they used
After we got
L.A.
fired.
Yeah, no, that-
The L.A. pickers were, so I don't know who was playing on all that stuff.
Well, we've titled this Remembering Waylon, so we obviously want to tell a lot of great Waylon stories, and I think this is a good time to start our free-for-all. So whoever wants to kick us off and tell some good Waylon stories, and just y'all chime in, just be sure to grab the mic and let's tell some stories.
Everybody's looking at me.
Is this
All
about
right,
what Jeff did
we'll
to
do
Waylon?
a
or-
couple of the doozies. So we're like, everybody, a lot of times wouldn't see the humor in Waylon, but I did. So one story, we're in Cleveland, and it's an auditorium gig, and the first 30 rows are totally large. I mean, the people, Yeah. So when Waylon when he was having a kind of a rough time, he'd mess with his amps, which is right in front of my drum riser, So we had done about 2.5 songs, and I go, Chief, your crowds are getting bigger. And he didn't say anything. Like he didn't even acknowledge me. And then he went out to sing and made it through about like half a verse and lost it, and turns around and goes, "Don't talk to me anymore tonight." It was pretty rich. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
During the era when they wanted to put plexiglass in front of the drums, everybody was doing it. It was like the thing. And I did not dig it because we did not have a set list. So if I can't hear Waylon, if he goes off mic, I hear nothing. I'm in this bubble, So I go, okay, what can we do with this? So I just started putting Post-its on it, and he couldn't stand it, And I'd write do you ever just feel like talking? It got so bad that I had my tech, I had a shower curtain on this left side, and I had a phone over here, and he'd be saying something, I'd go, and then one show he just goes, "Get rid of that thing."
Okay, I had a lot of opportunities to be in the studio with different artists, like Glen Campbell and Henry Mancini was called out to Phoenix to do a production on us. Waylon fired him. Mancini was my favorite guy, Pink Panther theme, all that stuff. But he made the statement, something about wanting us to play from charts, and something about Mooney's playing, which that did it, So anyway, my favorite thing that was in the studio was George Jones and Waylon and Richie. Just that's all that was in there. And George was in fine form, and Waylon was in finer form. And we're sitting there trying to cut a song, and they had the baffles in the studio, the clear plexiglass baffles. So Waylon and George were looking at each other. And each time they wanted to talk to each other, they would lean over around the baffle and talk. Well, there were microphones there. It's all they had to do was sit there and talk to each other. But here, both of them are like that. And we would count the song off, and if it made it to the first chorus, we were all surprised because they didn't finish it. They would just stop and have a conversation. Right in the middle, "Hey, Hoss, what do you remember down there the night? When we was doing so-and-so?" And then Waylon would say, "Yeah," and say, "Here, let's try this one." And turn the page, and it would all start over again. And then went on and on and on that way. And I keep hoping that Shooter will find those tapes. Yeah. We can't finish them. There ain't enough there.
I'll tell one about it. This was Hank Jr. and Waylon were in the studio, and they were doing a song called The Conversation, and it was about Hank Sr. Hank Jr. said, I think I'm going to go down to the Hall of Fame and get my dad's red cowboy boots. So he got on the phone, called down, and had somebody meet him there, and he got his dad's red cowboy boots, come back and put them on. Well, he gets back, puts the boots on, they go out in the studio, and no sooner had they played the first lick, and the loudest, biggest bolt of lightning hit the building and knocked out the electricity.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it waited about 3 or 4 minutes. Electricity came back on. They tried them again, got out in the studio and started. Electricity again went out from a lightning bolt. And about the third time this happened, Waylon looked at Hank and said, take those GD boots back to the Hall of Fame. It scared him. It was crazy.
Well, Carter, you got a good story for us?
Let's see, which ones can I tell? One of the things, we all talk about that, you had to be on Waylon's time. And as a singer, as a background singer, it was, I wasn't just on all the tracks, I mean, I wasn't out there recording the tracks or whatever. So I had to wait my turn. And the way Waylon would work was unlike any other artist or session I ever did before. It was very spur of the moment. And so I remember this one time when I had been given an opportunity to do backgrounds on an album for a pretty, a big deal rock and roller. So I was real excited about that. And I called the office to tell him I might be coming in a day late because, he wanted us back there to record. So the word came back, no, Waylon wants you here. And I thought, Dad, gummit, only that's not what the words that came to my mind. But, so I ended up not doing that album out in LA, but I came out and I sat for 3 days before I ever sang a note. And I would get so tired in the studio. And so I was asleep in an office upstairs, and they came and got me, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And they said, Waylon has a song he wants you to sing on. And I'd get one shot, maybe, maybe two, but rarely. And I'm thinking, oh, great. Okay, so I went out there about 3 in the morning thinking, I'm not going to be able to sing a note. But I did, and it ended up being the song Come With Me, where I would do those after parts. And I'm really glad that I didn't take the other gig. I think in a funny way, Waylon was sort of being protective because this particular artist was sort of known for being a little crazy too. And so Waylon thought, if you're going to be crazy, I want you to be crazy with us. So anyway, you just sort of had to be on your game. If you're going to run with Waylon, you had to understand he was going to make quick moves and you better be able to make them with him or do something else. So that's something.
Yeah, that reminded me. We would get off a 45-day tour, and we'd come home, and he's liable to call you that very night to come back to the studio.
A lot of times we just got to the studio.
A lot of times you go straight to the
Straight to the studio.
Well, this one night he said, everybody take a few days off. I'll call you back here in a day or two, and we'll get back at it. Well, I had been home, and I used to get off the road and sleep for 2 days. But we got off the road. I got to sleep finally about 10 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a call, and Waylon says, hey, Gordon, come on in. And they all call me Crank back then. They said, hey, Crank, come back in. There's something I want you to play. So I get back in there. It took me about an hour to get to the studio. I get there, and I said, well, where's Waylon? They said, oh, he's asleep upstairs. I said, well, go wake him up. I'm here to play. And they said, I ain't waking him up. You go wake him up. But I wouldn't wake him up. So I kind of nodded on the couch, and 6-7 hours later, he gets up and he said, hey, come here, I want you. But that's the way he was. He would bounce around on you. A friend of ours, J.I. Allison, the Crickets drummer, used to go, Waylon will hit the high spots on you.
Well, I was when Waylon Jigger was producing me, and Waylon invited me out to sing one of the songs, Southern Man, and so was it David Page that was the stay? Yeah. Well, David said, "Well, so Waylon's not gonna call you out to about halfway through the show, or maybe toward the end. Said I'll just restring your guitar." I said, "That's cool." So it's about 3 songs in and 2 strings on the guitar, and Waylon calls me out to sing, and so David goes, "Just use Waylon's guitar." So I'm like, "Okay." So I walked out there and I looked up at him and I said, "Waylon, I need to use your guitar," and he looked at me and he said, "Well, this friendship shit's just going too far." And anyway, he took his guitar off and handed it to me and said, "Here you go, Hoss, have fun." So, yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, one more road humor. So we're up north, we're up near the Great Lakes, and we would jump ship to play serious spades. Me and Jigger would get off the band bus to jump on the bus with David Trask and Waylon. So he goes, "Pull these motherfuckers over." We pull the buses over, and Jigger and I jump ship. And I've been there maybe 4 minutes, and Waylon's looking out the window. He's like Mr. National Geographic. He goes, "Isn't that Lake Erie?" And I go, "I don't know, Chief, but it scares me too." And he goes, "I don't even know why I invite you home."
What about the Voodoo thing, though? That's the funny.
Oh man, we played such serious spades. And Waylon, we always sat in the same place. I sat in the corner next to Waylon, then Jigger and David Trask. And this all started, the Voodoo thing, because his hat was on a thing right above me. And we'd get down in spades, and I'd reach up and rub the bill of his hat. And he'd act like he didn't see it, but it would just bug the shit out of him. This went on and on. He goes, "Leave my hat alone." He did it. Then he had a duck from Disney, because we'd done a couple of Disney gigs, and so we'd get down in spades, and I'd reach over and start rubbing the bill of that duck. Well, he goes, "Leave my duck alone," and he took the duck away. So I go, "Okay." So the next trip, I had made a voodoo doll of Waylon. No kidding. It was about this big, black hat, black coat. And I got there early, and Dog, who was the driver then, he goes, "Jeff, what are you doing here early and on this bus?" And I showed him, and he goes, "Oh, no." So I hid it in my little place because I knew we'd be playing spades. And when we got down, I pulled the doll out. And Waylon just freaked out, man. He stood up and he tore it up, and all I could say was, "Waylon, you're only hurting yourself." It was so rich, man.
That's hilarious.
It was, absolutely. The only time I've ever seen him cook, he goes, we're doing spades, it's the 4 of us, and he pours out a bag of Tostitos and puts slices of cheese on it. That's all. And he put it in the microwave. And he goes, he rubs his hands together and he goes, "Okay, boys, deal them freaking cards. I'll be right back." So within a minute, we ate every one of them. And he came out like, anyway.
Carter, I saw you wince. Waylon must not have been a great cook at all.
No. He had Jesse's a good cook. I'm sorry. Jess is a good cook. And they had a woman who started out as a tutor for the kids and then just became a part of their family. And she took really good care of them. And she was an amazing cook. So, no, Waylon was not a good cook. He had other talents. So if I thought he was going to be making nachos, I think I would have kind of
It was amazing.
excused myself. But yeah.
Things you've never seen.
There's a story I can tell. This is, from the female perspective probably, but we were, I don't remember where we were, but we were getting ready to go to the Ali fight. And who was he fighting? It was Sphinx. Yeah, that's right. And he had tickets for all of us. So we had been in this little hotel, and I'd gone to the breakfast buffet, and I'd eaten something that I thought, I'm not quite sure about that, but then I didn't think anything about it. Well, we went to this, to the fight, and it was a big deal. And we were watching it, and about 3/4 of the way through, I started feeling very poorly. So I'll make a long story short. The fight was over. We all got back out on the bus. I had food poisoning, and I was so sick. And Waylon made me go on his bus, made Barney and I go on his bus with he and Jess. And then we ended up at a truck stop. He made all the buses, all the crew, everybody had to stop at this truck stop until I felt better. It was, it was bad. We were out in the middle of nowhere. But that was kind of his protective thing of all of us. If somebody was hurt, then we're all going to, buck up and take care of each other and stuff. So I'll never forget that. And I remember feeling terrible. I was terribly sick, but at the same time, I'm thinking the crew needs to get to the gig, So, yeah.
Talking about the fights, Waylon was good friends with Ali. And Ali came into town for Shooter's christening. And I went to the airport with Waylon to pick up Ali. And as we're walking down the corridor, I keep feeling something on my earlobe and then on the other earlobe. And I looked around and it's Ali jabbing, and he's just clipping my ear. So, yeah. So we didn't need any security at that time.
No, I would imagine so.
Waylon came from pretty humble beginnings, and when things really went big, that was pretty exciting for him. And I remember after all kinds of drama with the record companies and everything, came a time when he got $1 million advance, and so they were going to put it in his account. Well, he said, no, I want the check. So they gave him the check, and right about once in a while he would, if we had a few days off, he'd get the Learjet and go to New York with Jesse, and he invited Carter and I to, and I think Richie came along too. And we all went to New York, and he had this big, long leather coat, almost full-length leather coat, and he had that check in his pocket, and almost everybody he ran into, he would show them this $1 million check. And we're going, Waylon, you need to get that sucker in the bank.
Waylon, one time he came to me and he said, I need to get out more. And he just really didn't know how to get out more. And I said, well, what you got to do first, you got to change your look. You got to do something different. So he gets with Jesse and he orders a jogging suit. Oh. And anyway, I'm down in the lobby waiting on him, and he comes out of the elevator and he's got this blue, shiny jogging suit on with a cowboy hat, a vest, and boots.
Nobody would recognize him.
Well, Fred, you've been awful quiet over there, so I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Well, some of these stories, obviously, I was not there to verify that, but I heard. Oh, he was always cool. When I started, like I said, there was no rehearsal, and we were playing in California, and they were going to do a song called "Deep in the West." He and Jesse, you were there, and I'd never heard it. And I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? I'm sitting there at my steel, and a guitar tech runs around and whispers in my ear, "Say, you got the instrumental?" And I'm going like, "Hey, yeah." So I played what I thought fit, and I got done with Waylon, turned around and clapped, and I thought,
Oh, that's great.
that meant a lot to me. I was sweating blood, and I wanted it to be right, but it pleased him, and it knocked me out that he acknowledged that. He was cool. Quite a guy. It's just amazing. One night we were playing, and I had a little bag on the end of my steel, a little leather bag. I kept picks in, an extra bar or whatnot. He became interested in that. He turned around and says, on the mic, he said, "What you got in that little bag there?" And I said, "Well, it's a pick and an extra bar." He's he thought it was going to be something else, I guess. But
Bummer,
it's kind of
dude.
funny. Yeah, I was like, okay. But he was so cool. I really enjoyed him. I ran into him one year. They used to have the NAMM shows in Nashville, which is musical instrument manufacturers anyway. They had it every year. It's right after he'd had his surgeries and different things and straightened out. He brought Shooter down there, and Shooter was just a little guy. But he's just bopping around in there like, hey, man, I'm having fun seeing guitars and everything. And came up and gave me a big hug, and we talked for a while. And so I admired him as a person as well as an artist. He was cool.
Speaking of your bag, Fred, my funniest thing was when we was out with Shooter and we was sitting at the airport somewhere, and Richie said, "Fred, why you got that bag, that fanny pack on?"
Oh, yeah.
And Fred says, "Well, who do you ask when you need something?"
They did. I'm like a pharmacist or something, man. I don't know. I guess he was always curious about that. Say, well, it's just clothes, man. Nothing exciting.
Well, we've mentioned some names like J.J. Kell and George Jones. Was there anybody that you guys would hear that y'all'd be in the studio with or going on the road with, and you think, oh no, we're about to have a time?
I can think of one. Glen Campbell.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He came around and he was pretty crazy during that time period. In fact, this is a personal story, really. One Christmas we were coming home. We were getting off the road, but Waylon wanted to go in the studio like the day after Christmas, so he invited Carter and I to come to the house and stay with them through Christmas, and then go in the studio. Well, he'd been running with Glen a little bit through that time period, and he said, well, Glen, why don't you and your wife come for Christmas? Because he wanted to go in the studio and have Glen play on some tracks and sing some stuff together, whatnot. And so a couple nights before, I think it was before Christmas, we were there, and we were all sitting around doing a guitar pull kind of thing. Of course, I was playing Jesse's piano because I don't play guitar. And I had written a song, I thought was from Waylon's viewpoint. Mm-hmm. So I sang that song. It's called Ivory Tower. And everybody went, yeah, yeah. And Glen went crazy over it. I love that song. I want to do that song. I want to cut that song. And so Waylon stopped and he goes, wait a minute. He works for me. I'm going to cut that song. So the day after Christmas, we went in the studio, and the very first song we cut was Ivory Tower. So I've always had Glen Campbell to thank for me getting a Waylon Jennings cut.
Gordon, you look like you had a Glen Campbell encounter or two.
Well, Glen, that was just a crazy couple of 3 days. It was... Yeah. It was at the height of our partying, I think. And Glen was bouncing off the wall. Then they played this one song, and it was so fast. I mean, just incredibly fast. And Glen Campbell's just ripping up the guitar. I never thought about that song again after that. I knew I had a feeling it wouldn't come out. Well, we get out with Shooter going over these tapes that we recorded way back then, and Shooter played a little bit of that song, and you could hear them in the back. They were just crazy. It was a wild time, and he had Tanya Tucker with him. Mm. And I had known her for about 6 months right before Waylon. But Glen Campbell was a trip. Great singer. But him and Waylon had a big time together. I think they out-partied all of us.
I think one of these days we're going to hear that song.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
In this next album or two, somewhere in there.
That'd be great.
Shooter's been working on it.
One of the cool things about this album that, the album that's come out that Shooter put together, Songbird, when we were in LA and we were listening to the tracks, they didn't have endings, a lot of them back then. Like you do these long fades or something like that back in the day. Well, this was just raw material. And the way Shooter's approach was, he could have spiffed things up or made it a little but he's left them in that original format. And it's so cool because the personality of Waylon and whoever was in the room comes through, and you can hear people laughing. That thing you're talking about with Glen, he says something really funny. I can't even remember what it was, but Shooter's going to keep all of that on the track. So when you hear the songs, it's not just, you really have a sense that you're in the room with them.
Right.
And it is so cool. I love it. Yeah. Good job, Shooter.
My deal with Glen Campbell, I was actually playing drums for Tanya, and we'll leave it at that.
End of story.
That's the story.
Fit in it what you want to. Just don't get the mixture wrong.
It really surprised me because when I asked that question, I figured it would be George Jones, or maybe when him and Willie got together, things got crazy or something. Glen Campbell was not somebody I expected you guys to say.
There's some George
We
Jones
have
stories.
George Jones stories. We just can't tell them.
There's bound to be one. There's bound to be one George Jones story y'all can tell.
Not really.
Yeah.
When I hate the button.
I got one.
Okay.
Pat, my wife, and I, and Tom Burke's wife, Sherry, we were in the studio. George had been in the studio with Waylon. Waylon was cutting something else. And so George followed us out of the studio, and we kind of sat on the park benches outside the office. And he said, I got this song, and my record label won't let me cut it. They say it's too sad. I want to play it for you, and you tell me what you think. And he played He Stopped Loving Her Today.
Oh, wow.
Before it was ever out. And we just sat there and could not believe anybody could think that song wasn't a lifetime smash hit.
Yeah.
But he did.
They played it to you and Pat?
Played it for me, Pat,
wow.
and Sherry Burke,
Oh, wow.
Tom
Wow.
Burke's wife. Yeah, He Stopped Loving Her Today.
That's incredible.
Yeah, waiting on my turn to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I was just remember the time that George was at Waylon's house, and George had had many different sides. That night he had two. One was really calm and sweet, and the other one was just crazy as all get out. And he had thrown an ashtray or something at Waylon's house. And Grop and Waylon were there. And anyway, Waylon had to subdue George. he gets George down on the floor, and he's sitting on top of him and holding him down. George says, Waylon, let me go. Man, I am so sorry. I should not have done all that, And I'll calm down. Waylon said, fine. And when he let go, George clocked him. And Waylon sat back and he said, now that's why they call you Possum.
I can only imagine the crazy things that you guys saw and were a part of that you can't tell publicly, but these have been some great stories. Shooter wanted me to ask y'all about, y'all cut a record as the Waylors, he said. And said that he said that it's a phenomenal album and that he's wanting to work on it and eventually put it out.
Cool. We used to do that. It was that time period when Waylon had a studio leased, and we could go in anytime we wanted. And a lot of times when he wasn't around, we'd go in anyway and cut stuff. And there must be 25 songs or something that nobody ever heard. They're just in the can, and we'd get them, fairly well finished. And there was a little bit of talk. I remember Richie talking a little bit about, find the label and putting it out, and it just never came about. And we'd forgot about most of them. And then when they digitized these things a few years ago, Richie got a copy of it, and he gave me a copy of it. And of course, Shooters had the copy all along. And we listened to some of that stuff and did some rough mixes of some of it, and some of it had already been roughed. But there's some good stuff in there. And Shooter has said that he wants to go through and remix that stuff. And that's pretty exciting. That'll be very cool.
Yeah, he likened it to the band and Dr. Hook.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, because it doesn't sound like Waylon music at all. It was just a conglomeration of all of our influences. There's the Oklahoma thing. We were kind of West Coast, and the Muscle Shoals, and just all of that was kind of in there. And the Waylors sort of have a unique sound of their own as a result.
And where that probably came from is that we opened for Waylon.
Yep.
You know, when the Crickets were out there, it'd be Crickets and Jesse, and then the Waylors, and then Waylon would come out. So we would, and all those nights after shows and stuff, we would, you know, we'd listen back to the show, you know,
Every night.
and encourage each other. I mean, that's the thing. Some of the musicians I had been around previous to this, it wasn't about encouraging, it was about, you know, critiquing, you know, and I'm like, nobody got any better for that. But this band, when you'd come back after a show, or if you were in the studio and you did something, they go, man, that's great. You just wanted to be even better. And
You
so,
get all pumped up wanting to do
Yeah.
another show
exactly.
after you've already done one.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Tom
true.
Burke was talking about that last night. He said the only band he ever heard of that would listen to the show after the show every night and say, oh man, I should have done this or I could have done that. But he said, you guys did that every night. Then we would go in the studio, Waylon, and we've told you about his time. You got to be on Waylon's time. He would say, okay, gang, we're going to start promptly at 7 o'clock. Well, they'd still be looking for him at 11 that night. So Richie would say, well, let's cut something.
Yeah.
And we cut a ton of stuff, and it was all, Barney played us some stuff right before we went out with Shooter, and then Shooter sang some more. I mean, we had this guy named Rance Wasson, and this guy's voice absolutely will hurt you. He sang so good and with so much feeling. And to hear those again it just made us cry. It was so poignant. But I hope he does it because Carter sings this song called A Lot to Laugh and a Train to Cry, and it's just fabulous. It sounds like a great, great record. And we were so in tune with each other. We get in the studio and that jumps off the tape. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds like he is going to do something with it, and I'm excited to get to hear some of those songs. Gordon, you spent time on the road as a Cricket.
Yeah.
And we all know Waylon spent time with Buddy Holly, who was his
Yep.
mentor back in the day. Did any of y'all hear stories? Did you hear stories from Waylon about his time on the road with Buddy?
Yeah, he always knew that Buddy wasn't happy, that he wanted to get back with the Crickets. And the night of the airplane, Buddy had called Jerry Allison, we call him J.I., had called J.I., and J.I. had returned his call and they didn't hook up, but they were going to talk about getting back together. And Waylon was, and Buddy's idea was that Waylon would open the show for the Crickets, and that was kind of what Buddy wanted to do. Of course, they never got a chance to do that, and Waylon always told me, he said, man, I felt so bad for so long. He said it took me 10, 15 years before I quit having the guilt feelings that it wasn't me.
Right.
Because he gave his seat up on that plane because somebody was sick. I can't remember whether it's the Big Bopper or Richie Valens, but he gave his seat up because they were sick, and he felt bad about that for years and years. Then when I got with the band, how I got with the band is Jerry Allison of the Crickets. When I found out about Waylon lost his harmonica player and his harmony singer, J.I. called him for me. And so that's one of the ways I got that gig. And J.I. always said, man, tell Waylon, let's finish those recordings we did back in '66. Because they did some stuff in the studio. And so every time I'd think about it, I'd say something to Waylon. J.I. still wants to do those records. And one night we're in the studio and they were talking about what to cut next. And Waylon said, hey, Gordon, go call J.I. Tell him to come in. Let's work on that record. So that's how the Crickets not only helped my career, but they also came out on the road with us, because after that song came out, it was on I've Always Been Crazy, double platinum right away, and they opened the show for us. So those guys were always around, and it was always a connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's the story, and I'm wondering if you or any of y'all were around when the Crickets bought Buddy's motorcycle and gifted it to Waylon.
Yeah, we were all there. Yeah. They found Buddy's motorcycle and bought it for him for his birthday.
Yeah, put it in his hotel room. And that's where they cranked it up inside the inside the hotel. Where was it? Clear Lake? Is that where everything?
Yeah, I think
the
so.
last show.
I accidentally booked Clear Lake. That's the first time Waylon had been back.
Oh, wow.
I did not connect where it was, what was going on. It was at a time when offers were coming so quickly. But anyway, we're on the way there, and Waylon said, "Where we're going?" And I told him Clear Lake, and we had a long talk about it. And he said it was the best thing that happened to him because he went through it.
Yeah.
And he said even during the performance that he felt like he could look off to the side and see Buddy.
Oh,
wow.
And it's anyway.
Jigger, do you remember when we did that gig, the buses, when we left, the buses pulled over next to those fences and fields for like 4 minutes? Waylon got off. I didn't know what was going on, but that's where the plane went down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was,
yeah.
yeah,
Right outside
man.
town, right off the
Yeah,
highway, right next to the highway.
Right.
yeah.
I have a quick story about the Crickets, and that was, I wasn't the only girl on the road by far. I was just the only girl in the Waylors, and they had me introduce the Crickets, and so I wasn't even hip to the depth of who the Crickets were when we first started. I was really young and naive, and anyway, it didn't take long for me to figure out who they were, and so I would introduce them every night. Well, this one night, I got a call. We were back in the room, and I get a call from, I think it was J.I., and he said, "Hey, come on up to our hotel room. We want to give you something." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I said, "I'll be right back, Barn." He's like, "Bye." Anyway, so I walked up to the room, and all three, Crickets, J.I. and Joe B. and Sonny, were all in there, and they handed me this envelope, and it said, I'm probably going to screw this up, but "We sure dig the way you announce. So us old Crickets scored you an ounce." Now, that was during a time when that might have had a little different meaning. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. Don't tell anybody else. No. And so they said, "Well, open the envelope." So I opened the envelope, and it was a gold Cougarant. I have it to this day. And, I mean, they were generous, and they were just so sweet and nice to me that, because I'm like, I didn't know anything. I was just really naive. I could sing, but I will always cherish that. I've got it in my safe at home.
Did Waylon? Did he ride a motorcycle? Does anybody know? Because I don't think he did.
I don't know if he ever rode it. I
He
don't
took
know.
the Buddy Holly motorcycle out and was going to go for a ride, and he made it up to the gate and laid it down. And when he did, he went inside and said, "Talked to Jesse," and they put it on a pedestal.
That was the end of
inside
that.
It was inside the house.
inside the house. All right.
I remember it sitting there in that big family room.
Do you remember when he had the chase car, that Corvette?
Yeah.
And we were all at the house, and he had this. I mean, talk about a powerful car. That was insane. He goes, "Carter, take it for a ride." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure, I can do this." Y'all, I got down to, I think it was Edge Hill, and I just barely, and I could drive a stick, so it was no problem, but I just barely pumped that gas pedal, and I almost ran into something in front of me. I very carefully went back to the studio and said, I don't ever want to drive anything like this again. He was just cracking up laughing.
Well, we have the new Waylon's already out. It's been out since the 3rd, and it's just such an incredible album. What was it like for y'all? And I'll start with you, Jigger, and we'll kind of go around to hear that music again and see that it was still there and that it's going to be coming out over the next few years.
I remember the first time that I heard it. It's really an emotional thing that you go through. As I was listening to it, the more I listened, the more I smiled. The more memories I had, back in the day. Those were special. And I didn't realize how big Waylon was until years into the gig. I had no idea. I wish that I had paid more attention and than I did. But anyway, 20 years has gone by, and you're listening to stuff that you did, and the fun part, you're getting to play on it again.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah.
So that's what it was for me.
I wasn't on that at that time. Mr. Moon was playing the steel guitar, and rightfully so, the master himself. And I think folks, especially steel enthusiasts, will enjoy hearing this, and I'm pleased that Waylon is getting so much recognition, and this is all coming about. I think speaks well for him and for all the folks that got to play with him and everything. I'm just glad to be a part of his music for a short time, and very proud of those years, but I'm also glad that he's getting his fans and new fans, hopefully, out of all this.
Well, I didn't play on it either. When some of these songs were cut, I was probably 6 years old. But it's great to be a part of it now and part of it with these guys. So yeah, it's cool that he's been passed away all these years and is it number one or something?
It's on iTunes, I think.
Yeah. Billboard.
Top 10 probably.
I'm number one.
He made number one on the iTunes real quickly,
Yeah.
and
Overnight.
It's top 10 on Billboard.
yeah, overnight.
Overnight.
And it was on the country album 17, but Shooter said that not all the albums had been reported because they only report the ones that have been shipped, and they had
There's 3,000.
quite a bit that
Copies,
hadn't been
yeah.
shipped yet. So it probably would have broke top
Yeah.
10.
You know, one of the things that I'll never forget is we get in the studio and we visit with Shooter, and he tells us kind of the story of how hard it was putting this together. Because back in the day on a 16 track or a 24 track, you had track sheets, and it told you what each, who the player was, what he was playing, and maybe a note or two here and there. Well, these things had no track sheets. He didn't know who was playing on them. He didn't know what who the writers were, sometimes the title of the song. So he just had to get in there and research it for hours and hours and hours. He was telling us that story, and then he played us one of the songs, and I'll never forget. I was about to tear up, and I looked around at everybody else, and they felt the same as I did. It was really an incredible moment, and my daughter-in-law was taking pictures. She took a picture right at that point and captured what we felt. It was really cool. Really cool.
Well, that was before me, and all of it's incredible. And kind of what Jigger was saying is I grew to be such a fan, and I also wish, you know, you're doing so many shows that sometimes you're just kind of on automatic pilot, but then there'd be nights you'd go, check this cat out, man. So meaning all good, and the history is so rich, to even be part of it, no matter at what stage, is an honor.
It's funny, Jeff, because while we were jumping off the bus and into the studio recording that stuff, you and Tony Joe would be opening for us. And I remember thinking, man, what a great drummer that guy is. And now here you are. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think I just want to, and Barney can say more, but I think I'm just so proud of Shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've watched him grow up. We were there at his christening and on the road and all that kind of stuff, and watched him through the phases of his life and his musical career. And for him to be able to have this music of his dad and all of us, you know, he wasn't around during that time. And so it's got to be really powerful for him, the connection of father-son. And I heard in an interview where he said, my name is, Waylon Albright Jennings, and he felt like, you know, he just was called to make sure that he got this music out to honor both his dad and drummer Richie Albright.
Yeah.
And it just is a humbling moment to think that we've all been blessed to be a part of this. This is a powerful thing, and Waylon sounds better than he ever did. It's just... I get chills, and yes, I mean, it was an emotional time. I look back at those pictures, and my head's always bowed, and I'm just trying to drink it in. But really proud and grateful that Shooter had this opportunity.
You know, Carter said we go back all the way with Shooter, and because I'm old softy, I'm emotional, but I got to tell something funny, so that'll go away. We had all started having babies. My wife got pregnant. Richie Albright's wife got pregnant. Tom Burke's wife got pregnant. One of the other roadies' wife got pregnant. Jesse and Waylon were trying to get pregnant. And he wanted all those babies around as much as he could. Well, we were playing Kane's Ballroom one night in my hometown. We were playing Kane's Ballroom, and he come out on the stage with the huge smile from ear to ear. And he was just bouncing off the stage. And he goes to the mic and he said, "Now, everybody whose wife is pregnant, raise up their hand." And he raised his hand real high. And we all were excited because we knew they were trying. And then he said, "You know, I always heard you could get the job done just with one time. Shoot, I was stacking them in there like BBs."
All of that.
Follow that, right? I don't know. I think you wrapped it up pretty good. It wasn't a great experience to go out there, and I'd really forgotten a lot of stuff. Didn't remember specific tunes. Would have to hear them more than once. Yep. In fact, one song, I think it might be Songbird. Shooter said, "Is that you playing?" And I thought, "No, I don't think it's me." I told him no. But listening to it over and over, I realized, and I went back and I listened to Christine McVie's original version of it, and she plays a piano part, and that's pretty much what I was playing. So I was kind of playing somebody else's part. So I've come to realize, yeah, that's me. Yeah, it's funny how bits of memory come back after a while. I'm starting to remember things about those sessions that I didn't remember when we were out in Hollywood talking to Shooter. But it was really a great experience to sit there, listen to that stuff, listen to on earphones with Waylon's voice right in the middle of your head, sounding so good, and to the chills that I got. It was like maybe putting an organ part on, something that I had in listening to myself 40 plus years previous, playing piano. And I was, playing at the same time, accompanying myself. That was a great experience, a once in a lifetime thing.
Well, this first one was incredible, and it did really well on multiple charts. I think it charted on 5 different charts in the Billboard, and then #1 on iTunes. And I was talking to Shooter about it. This second one, I think people got a taste from this first one because there was a lot of skepticism in this first one. A lot of people saying, "Oh, it's going to be AI," and all of this junk. And I think people have probably heard this first one, those skeptical people, and they're going to be more excited about the second one. So I think the second one's going to do even better than the first
good
one.
Stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
great stuff.
Yeah, I was talking to Shooter the other night, and he said, "I think the second one will be better."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I would love to see Waylon at #1 on the Billboard country album.
That'd be
Yeah.
weird. That'd be fun,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we would too.
We'll see if we can do it. Well, we mentioned Richie Albright. I think we'd be remiss to not talk a little bit about Richie and some of y'all's memories about him, because he was a driving force behind Waylon's band, from what I understand, right?
Right.
Yes.
The first session that I did with these guys and Richie, it felt like it's a comfortable feeling, a warm feeling. Richie had this wonderful smile, and he said I did too. And I remember that's all we did when we were cutting. We were just smiling and feeling good about it. He was a good man. He was a straight shooter. As far as saying, he's like a brother on the road. We're all family.
Yeah.
But or was it a dad?
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. But anyway, he's just very special. What a guy.
Yeah, at one time when Pat and I first got married, our house was way out in the country. I had a little property out in Charlotte, Tennessee. And I got off the road one time. We had a little baby, and I get off the road, and Pat meets me at the front of the driveway and said, "Get me out of this hollow," because it was down a long hill, and ice would cover the roads, and she'd be stuck. And so Richie, I told him that story. He said, "Man, come stay at one of my houses." He had another house on his farm. So we went and stayed at his house while we were in the process of buying a house. We hadn't closed on it yet. So we stayed in one of his houses for a while. got out, rode horses, and just had a big time staying there. But it was a little bit too much like the road because somebody was always ready to get the guitars out and drink a beer and tell stories. So it was a little bit too much party, but he was such a good guy. He super good guy. Nobody better than Richie.
Well, the story I always heard was when down here when the DEA did their big drug bust on Waylon, wasn't it Richie that he hit the button so Waylon could hear what was going on?
Yeah, they came bounding through the door and said, I have a warrant to search the property. And they said, well, who are you? And they had DEA on their back and FBI on their lapel. And so Richie just leaned over on the console and stuck down the button for the talk back. So Waylon's hearing all this, and he said, look, I know you want to search. I don't know what you're looking for, but we're in the middle of a take, and we need to finish this. And then as soon as we're finished with this song, you can come in and search whatever you want. And so he takes his hand off the talk back. And he says, okay, Waylon, let's try it one more time. So Waylon starts singing it, and Richie says, hey, Waylon, I think we need to change that microphone. So Waylon said, okay. So gets out there, and whatever had come through the mail, Richie got it from Waylon, and in the anteroom between the studio and the control room was a bathroom. So Richie goes in the bathroom, and evidence was gone. So he comes back in. He says, okay, Waylon, we're ready. So he had changed the microphone real quick, grabbed everything, and flushed it. So
the DEA guy said that when Richie said, I need to go to the bathroom, he said, well, I'll have to go with you. And Richie said, you're not one of those funny boys, are you? and he stood out there, and all he heard was the door close and the flush.
yeah, that's right.
I guess it's a Waylon story too. But we, as Waymore's Outlaws, we worked several dates with Shooter in about a 3-year period. Wasn't it, with Jerry? We worked about the dates, and it's funny. We worked a lot of places, and they'd look up and say, "We opened for Shooter," and they'd say, well, "Who's these old guys?" You know, till we started playing Waylon's music.
Yeah.
And then it became apparent. But we all knew they came to see Shooter, but we had fans in the meeting because of Waylon's music.
Well, you guys are playing together now. I just saw y'all play down at Chiefs, and it was, I mean, just to be in that room watching y'all play was incredible. I hung on to every second of it, and I think everybody in that room did too. And how often are y'all doing that?
Well, it varies. We did quite a few dates at Chiefs there. We do other dates too, depending on what we do. We're not really on the road anymore with what we were years ago, and probably just as well. Everybody's a little older. But it was always fun. Shooter was always a pro to work with. We were a good fellow. We enjoyed him.
It's incredible because Tommy's mainly on vocals, but y'all sing, and y'all's daughters get up and sing and do a wonderful job. And any of y'all who are watching and listening, if you get the chance to go see these guys do their show, it's phenomenal just to be there.
Yeah, I'd like to say, man, how cool is it that we're still making music? I mean, at this stage of the game, and these are great singers and musicians, everybody sitting here. I mean, so I'd just like to say thank you guys and girls, you know.
Well, we enjoy
now.
playing. I think all of us do.
Yeah.
It's not always about the money. It's we enjoy playing and doing what we're doing. Hope we always have that feeling.
We're actually picking tonight.
You should come.
I'd love to.
You should come. Tom Burke, you know Tom, right? Tom Burke.
I don't know.
You don't? Well, you'll meet him tonight. Tom was our road manager for years and years in the front, section in the 70s, early 80s, and then in the back to Waymore's Blues Band. Tom was probably the closest thing to Waylon for many, many years.
Okay.
And so his daughter is throwing Tom and her mother a party tonight at the daughter's house in Mount Juliet.
Okay.
And we're all going from here to sound check and play this party, and you're more than welcome to come.
I'll be there.
I'll give you the address.
I'll be there.
We'll give you the address.
What I like about what we're doing now is everybody sings, you know, and
Yeah.
it's fun. I love that.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, we've got about 8 minutes left in the studio here.
Dang.
I'd like to get one or two more good Waylon stories in. So if any of y'all got something else you can think of,
All mine are just humor.
those are great ones.
Well, in all the years with Waylon and knew him before opening the show and blah, 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 I can count on one hand how many times he ever called me. You know, the office, I'd get messages from Jigger and everybody. So one day he calls me, and I know exactly who it is. He doesn't go say who it is, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I go, okay. So I started to treat it like a prank caller. And I go, who is this? He goes, this is Waylon. I go, no, it's not. And he hung up on me. So that was about 2 minutes of fun. The other thing, we tried to get Waylon out, and, so we bought him golf clubs. The band got him golf clubs, and we'd go play golf and all these. There's several stories here, but I'll leave it at one. So watching Waylon, he'd take such a cut at it. If we're playing 9 holes, he'd have 9 balls in his pocket in his little workout uniform. They'd all come out. But I went and got a tee that just had a flat top. You could not put a ball on it. And I gave it, and Waylon had it. And he was literally dog cussing for like 2 minutes trying to tee up his ball. It was priceless. Anyway.
I'm sorry. It's so fun having you around, Jeff. You're just crazier than a loon. I love it. There's a story that this is how involved he would be with our families. And our oldest daughter was in high school, and she had the lead in, I can't remember the play, but it's really a crazy one. But anyway, there's this one part where this boy is going to kiss her, right? Well, Waylon said, I want to come. So I said, okay. Well, he came in, he said, I've got to come in the side door. So we had a special thing where he came in the side door. We had special seats all laid out for him and some of our other Waylon family.
Packed house.
Yeah, it was packed house. And so he's sitting there, and I'm starting to feel a little bit nervous because I know what Waylon can do. But so I'm sitting there, and I could hear these things. Oh, Becky's the best one. It wasn't him talking, but it was some of our other family, Waylon family, going, she's better than all those other kids up there. She's the best. Well, this boy gets to the part of the play, and this boy leans in and starts to kiss her, and Waylon goes, oh, wait there a minute, just a minute, Hoss. And Becky's like, oh my God.
Little Shop of Horrors is what they do.
Man.
I sure appreciate y'all for coming out and doing this. This has been a lot of laughs, a lot of joy, a lot of fun remembering Waylon, who I've always looked up to, and musically I just my favorite. I love Waylon. So to be here and talk to you guys and hear these stories has been an absolute honor. So thank y'all for coming out.
We thank you for keeping
Thank you very much.
country music alive.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
yeah.
We really appreciate
Carrying
you.
the torch and keeping country music alive and all the legends and all that. That's great.
Well, y'all gonna make me cry over here. Jeff, tell another funny story.
That's how that stuff gets started.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan. I hope you
Thank
will.
you.
Hope you will come tonight. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. We're not going to be. We're going to be able to play as long as we want. So we're dragging
Just a
out
free-for-all.
songs that we used to do years ago when we would open up the show. So it's going to be.
And we'll all be wearing pajamas.
I promise you I'm going to be there. If I don't show up, come looking for me because something bad's happened. Well, I appreciate y'all so much for coming. I'll see y'all again tonight. And all y'all listening, go stream Waylon's new album. Let's continue getting it up the chart. When the next one comes out, let's make it debut at number 1. I think we can do it. So thank y'all again, and this has been so much fun.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, Dylan.
All right.
Yeah.